Sound is very therapeutic, as well as pleasant, as well as very ancient as a form of healing. Hello, my name is Don Simmons. I'm with the International Sound Therapy Association. I'm here at the beautiful Shoppe in Sarasota, Florida, and I wanted to talk a little bit about sound therapy as a form of healing. The shamans have used sound therapy since the beginning of time. A simple rain stick brings the awareness of prosperity and healing. The ability to bring up the sound of rattles of all kinds that would sound like a snake or it would sound like a limb of a tree. It brings back the awareness of how you are relating to nature. And so you can use all different forms of therapeutic sound to help heal and to help you remember who you really are. Let me talk first about the Himalayan bowl, oftentimes referred to as a Tibetan bowl, but in reality it's a Himalayan bowl because they come from the Himalayas. The Himalayan bowl has a sense of being grounded, and so when you're working with a client that may be a little scattered or not really sure where their center is, come to the Himalayan bowl. Breathing in, breathing out, sounding the bowl brings you back into that place of being truly grounded in nature. This works with all of the chakras within the system. We talk about normally 7 chakras, and the sound of this particular type of bowl, called a hand-hammered bowl, it resonates on different levels of different sounds, all the way in different octaves. And so when you invite the sound of a Himalayan bowl, it will really work with the lower chakras, but also bring that energy all the way up to the higher chakras. But it really is very beneficial on being very grounded. The Himalayan bowl comes in many different sizes, many different tones, but you want to get a bowl that is substantial enough to bring you that sense of grounded behavior. Now, there are other bowls you can get, and I will say, once you start getting bowls, you'll find yourself wanting to get several. So think about what your process is and what you're doing, and start collecting the bowls that works for you professionally as well as personally. The history of quartz crystal bowls is not really that well known, but we do know that it's fairly modern technology. I think of the quartz crystal bowls as the magic carpet of sound. It lifts the spirit into a higher place, and it's almost like you're communing with the angels. Whenever you're working with a client who may feel depressed or anxious, the quartz crystal bowl can bring them back to their place of communing with the angels. In playing the crystal bowls, it is often thought that you would move the mallet in one direction all the way around. But what I have found is also you can move the mallet in a very small place, just on one side of the bowl, and it creates the same effect. The quartz crystal bowl truly is the magic carpet of sound, lifting you higher and higher. And oftentimes I find when I've been using the quartz crystal bowls on my clients and in meditation, people have a tendency to really sort of leave their body, leave the earth plane. So you want to make sure when you're using quartz crystal bowls, at the end, bring the client or yourself back to being grounded. And you may use a Himalayan bowl, or you may even just use your own voice by saying Om, coming back into the body to make sure that when it's done, you're very grounded. Now, another instrument that's been around for a very long time is the tuning fork. The tuning fork is really a fairly old instrument used in medical technology as well as for tuning instruments, anywhere from a piano to an entire orchestra. Often you use a tuning fork. This particular fork is called a weighted fork, and it is of the ohm frequency. When you use a weighted fork, it's for the physical on the body. An unweighted fork is for the auric field. And so you take the tuning fork, and you'll probably not be able to hear it, but you'll feel it. You want to hold it at the very tip like this, not on the fork itself, but on the tip. And you can strike it using a striker or just the palm of your hand. And then you place it on the body in certain places. As a word of caution, you want to make sure that if you're using a tuning fork on someone, that they do not have a pacemaker or a hearing aid or a defibrillator, as it could interfere with the electronics of the medical device. They also make tuning forks in quartz crystal. This is really fun and beautiful. Again, you won't be able to hear it, but with this particular quartz crystal tuning fork, it is a little bit more for the etheric field, but you can also use it on the body as well. The quartz crystal tuning fork brings in the quality not only of the tuning fork, but also of the quartz crystal bowl. Tuning forks are generally tuned to pitch perfect. Whatever pitch it may be, it will sustain that sound for as long as the sound is going, as long as you're holding it in its proper place at the very base. Another instrument is the Practitioner's crystal bowl. This is another amazing therapeutic modality that you can use that brings the quality of the quartz crystal to be focused. And when you're working with this quartz crystal, that sound really starts to move through the physical form, which is what sound is here to do. And so you can use the practitioner's bowl to focus the sound in a therapeutic way to help break up old blocks and old patterns of belief within your physical and mental and emotional systems. We talked about the rain stick. You can also have small rattles. Again, shamanically, there's all different types of rattles that one would use. There's some rattles that will be very loud to really break things up. The small rattle, like this, is really to come back into that beautiful state, that beautiful place of home. It's like a baby rattle. And so when all is said and done, you come back to the peaceful, beautiful sound of a very small rattle. You would use this to be able to bring that client back into their body and welcome them home. Other rattles that are louder are really for shaking things off and getting rid of energy. This particular rattle will help you bring things back in. Another instrument that can be used for meditation is the drum, this little hand drum. This keeps you in the state of your breathing, gets you focused and concentrated on the present moment of what's taking place. In meditation, we have a tendency to drift and move away. But when you're starting to use something like this, it helps you focus and bring it back together. You can use this therapeutically with a client also whose mind may be off and running to the races. So with this drum, you can create that sound that keeps them coming back into that present moment. I talk about the quartz crystal bowls as being the magic carpet of sound. Well, the gong is like the tsunami of sound. The sound of the gong permeates the entire place. You have to be very careful when you're using this therapeutically as well as just professionally or personally. The gong can really move that energy. I always talk about the gong as that tsunami of sound. If you're holding on to something, the gong will move it along. Now you want to be careful, once again, what is the right instrument for the right purpose? So if you're elevating the spirit, you want to bring in the quartz crystal bowls that allow you to be elevated. If you need to be grounded, bring in the Himalayan bowls that brings you into the place of being grounded. If you want to really move things, if you're feeling stuck, the gong is the place that you really want to go. In using the gong, you want to be aware all gongs have what we call the sweet spot. And so generally it will be somewhere along the middle part of the gong, but not always. And so for this, right in this area is the sweet spot of the gong. This sound permeates the room, moves through your body, and whatever may be taking place within yourself, physically, mentally, or emotionally, it will start moving away. Again, you want to be very aware of how you're breathing, and when you're working with a client, making sure they continually breathe out. The gong is a very powerful instrument that will truly begin to move things. The quartz crystal chime is also a beautiful therapeutic modality that you can use to help your clients. It also comes in the Merkaba, which goes along with the sacred geometry, which connects us with all that there is. And so with using the quartz crystal chime or the Merkaba, by toning that sound, you begin to move the energy in ways that the crystal bowls and the Himalayan bowls and the gongs just do not do. It really unifies us with that divine place, all of the universe and all that there is. You're still bringing in the essence of the quartz crystal, which is working with the blood systems, with the physical body, that really aligns ourselves to pureness and harmony. When working with sound as a form of therapy or becoming a sound therapist, you want to make sure that you really know what you're doing. You've done the work on yourself meditation-wise as well as the study of sound. The International Sound Therapy Association works with sound therapists all over the world in organizations such as the Om Shop to make sure that there's a presence and a professional quality that comes into this work. You can go anywhere, but you want to make sure that you're really working with someone who knows what they're doing. I want to thank you for being a part of this sound journey and bringing sound into the world, because as we bring harmonious sounds into the world, we're really healing ourselves, our friends, and our neighbors, as well as the rest of the world. Join us for our next videos where we will explore even deeper into the world of sound. Now, thank you so much for joining us. Time to tune up your happy.